Hey everyone, welcome back to Sound Bites. In this video, we are going to be doing our first little album comparison, and we're going to be talking about Julio Iglesias' 1100 Bel Air Place on both vinyl and cassette. So, out of listening to both of these formats, I would have to say the vinyl sounds 10 times better than the cassette tape. So the cassette is actually just a Type 1 generic tape. And this tape, it's over 40 years old, 41 years old. And it's still sounds decent, but it just doesn't have that rich sound that the vinyl record, which has never been played, sounds like. So I actually just got done listening to the vinyl version and comparing it how I heard it on the cassette. And I would say the vinyl record is 10 times better. And the setup we were using is a Fluence RT81 with a Bose Wave Music System 3. When I listened to the cassette, it was a Sony CFD S70 connected to, from the headphone jack into the Bose Wave Music System 3, and I gotta say, the vinyl sounds 10 times better than the cassette. I think the best, overall format to listen to this album on is vinyl. Especially with a good magnetic cartridge, a good turntable, like the Fluence RT81, connected to some good speakers. The cassette tape, I just see it's a lot more portable and it's a lot smaller. And the cassette does get eaten over time. And I've had that happen before, especially with Dire Straits. I just lost my Dire Straits cassette. I lost my Arena tape. There's a lot of cassettes I've lost because they got eaten by the tape player. So, even with today's mechanisms, even with today's cassette mechanisms, cassette suffers for it because it's not getting the rich sound. Even if it's a good, decent manufacturer like from Panasonic or Sony or any other people like that, if you don't have an older cassette player, you're not getting the rich sound that cassettes can have. But a lot of mechanisms are actually made by the more cheaper manufacturers and put them into these really good Panasonic boom boxes, Sony boom boxes, you name it. I mean, cassettes, they could be a good format if it wasn't for the Tanishin factory going out of business and these knockoffs coming in and, not really delivering the performance that vinyl can produce. So here is the vinyl record. As you can see, it's never been played. It's in really good condition. I would definitely pick the vinyl over the cassette any day. Because when I'm listening to the cassette version of Julio Iglesias 1100 Bel Air Place, the sound goes in and out a lot due to the actual tape. But the vinyl sounds crystal clear. It's rich. It's deep. It's got a lot more detail than the cassette version of Julio Iglesias 1100 Bel Air Place, which is one of my favorite albums from the 80s. Because I actually have the cassette version and the vinyl version of Julio Iglesias. And the vinyl record sounds so good compared to the cassette version. Especially with today's mechanisms where they're so cheaply made. They're still making a good turntable mechanism with magnetic cartridges, a metal platter, an S-shaped tone arm for better tracking, all that stuff. So if I was to play this on my Audio Technica ATLP 70X, it would actually skip because just like cheap cassette players, the vinyl records do suffer in performance, not really the way cassettes do, but these things could deteriorate faster than a vinyl record ever would. So I would definitely prefer vinyl. It will last a lot longer if it's well taken care of compared to a cassette tape. I mean, there's so many great albums I have on vinyl that I also have on cassette tape. And I'll have the vinyl version if something happens to the actual tape, or the pressure pad falls out, because these older cassettes like Julio Iglesias are prone to, depending on especially with how old they are, they're I don't know how much longer they're gonna last. But yeah, cause there's the cassette version and the vinyl version. I prefer the vinyl over the cassette. So the vinyl sounds so much richer and fuller. It's very lifelike compared to the cassette version. The cassette is lacking in bass, especially on the high end, and there's just lack of detail in the cassette version, especially with a Type 1 tape, a cheap mechanism. But I guess if you get an older cassette deck, it'll sound even better, especially if you get one of those hi-fi cassette decks and you turn on, with Dolby. I think Dolby, I don't know how good Dolby is. I never experienced Dolby before, even as a kid in the 90s and 2000s. I never really got to experience Dolby, but I think I might have in the car, because it turns it automatically on when you pop the cassette in. And this is I'm not sure what kind of Dolby this has. But it says it has the Dolby system on the cassette as well. But the vinyl, I definitely have to say it sounds much, much better. It's got better sound quality through much richness. It's got more detail, and it just sounds better than the cassette version. So yeah, if you are wanting to pick up this album, Julio Iglesias, Alone Heart Our Place, make sure you get the vinyl version or the CD version over the cassette. Because with the cassette, you will be disappointed. CDs still sound pretty good. No matter what mechanism you get, it's always going to sound good. Vinyl, yeah, if you have a good turntable, good speakers, and a good overall setup for your vinyl, it'll sound good. But if you have one of those cheaper plastic mechanisms with a ceramic cartridge, it will suffer in terms of sound quality and just the overall sound of what vinyl can actually, produce. Like, I would stay away from the budget brands like Crosley, Victrola. Yeah, Crosley, Victrola, Electro Home, Studebaker. I don't know if Studebaker makes turntables, but there's a lot of brands I would stay away from, like Crosley and Victrola, because they will destroy the record. And plus, they just don't last very long. So I would pick up the vinyl record or the CD version and stay away from the cassette version, unless you have a cassette player in your car. Then you have to have the cassette. But cassettes do wear out, and they lose their sound quality over time. Even if it's well taken care of, like this Julio Iglesias, it will lose its quality over time. This will keep its sound quality. It's better preserved, which means it will last a lot longer, it will sound the exact same, you know, decades from now. Where the cassette, decades from now, this thing won't even be around. So I would stick with vinyl or CD, because I know they have a CD version of Julio Iglesias, 1100 Bel Air Place. But the cassette version, yeah, it's starting to lose its quality over time. See, the more you play it, the worse it sounds. And the reels get tight, and it just gets too tight, and it just gets eaten by the tape players, capstan, pinch roller, tape head. The entire mechanism is eating the tape up, as you know, when you put it in, and especially if you don't have a pressure pad. Like most cassettes that get eaten are really, really long and have a ton of tape inside of it, like this one does, but this one should be fine. But it will lose its quality over time. The vinyl record will keep its same sound for decades and decades to come in the future. If you don't have one of those Crosley and Victrola cheese graters that can destroy a record through the tracking force, the plastic platter, a plastic tone arm, ceramic cartridge, which can track way too heavy, and yeah, your vinyl records will get destroyed. Same thing with cassette players, but I guess cassette players is a different story. With you know, it doesn't really matter what brand you get, you're still getting the same, you know, experience with cassettes. Like if you get a Panasonic boombox, which is over $100, usually on Amazon, and you put it in like so, and the tape head goes right into the tape. It could, and the pinch roller is moving around, you know, like this on the tape, and yeah, it could damage the tape. You won't have it for much longer. And of course, the tape head, they're not as good as they once were in the 90s and, you know, the 80s, the 70s, during the heydays of cassettes. But vinyl, ooh, that is definitely the best format to grab music on, rather than a cassette tape. You know, take it from a guy who's been listening to cassettes for over 30, almost 30, like a little over 30 years. 30, 31 years been listening to cassettes. And in those 31 years, I've lost so many tapes because they get eaten by the tape player and having to just yank it out because it's that bad. But vinyl, it'll last forever. And I'm really impressed with the vinyl version of Julio Iglesias 1100 Bel Air Place compared to the cassette. So if you guys enjoyed this video, make sure you pick up Julio Iglesias 1100 Bel Air Place on vinyl or CD. Whatever you do, stay away from the tape because you won't have it much longer. So I'll catch you guys next one. Peace.